You're watching The Creaky Blinder.
I look at Niagara Falls, and even secular reports of Niagara Falls would say it's been eroding for 12,300 years. Well, why hasn't Niagara Falls eroded further than that?
Niagara Falls is not eroded further because the rate at which it erodes is roughly balanced by the rate at which new rock is deposited at the base of the falls.
It seems to me if the Earth, as we know it today, or North America, especially that area up there by Canada, and the United States, has been there for more than 12,000 years in a stable setting, which they would say it has, Niagara Falls should have eroded way farther than that.
Repeat myself much. The reason why the falls has not eroded further over time is that erosion at any given point along its course is roughly balanced by deposition downstream when new material builds up at the base of the falls. This process occurs by abrasion created by particles suspended in the water that erode away rock formations while other sediments settle out upstream or downstream from their source area, replenishing any materials lost to erosion along its way downriver. Over time, the continual replacement helps ensure that there remains an equilibrium between erosion and deposition, which keeps Niagara Falls relatively stable size-wise despite its large volume of falling water every second. In addition to this natural process, human intervention has also played a role in keeping Niagara's shape intact over the centuries. Since 1885, work has been done to control how much sediment enters into Lake Erie from upstream rivers so as to prevent it from entering into Niagara's riverbeds where it could potentially build up around rocks near or within areas close to waterfalling cascades, leading them towards gradual enlargement over time if left unchecked. These efforts have helped keep erosion levels under control, therefore preserving some semblance of stability in terms of overall size when compared against what they would be without such precautions taken into consideration. It's that easy. Please subscribe.
Niagara Falls is evidence, I would say, of a young Earth.
Repeat myself much. The reason why the falls has not eroded further over time is that erosion at any given point along its course is roughly balanced by deposition downstream when new material builds up at the base of the falls. This process occurs by abrasion created by particles suspended in the water that erode away rock formations while other sediments settle out upstream or downstream from their source area, replenishing any materials lost to erosion along its way downriver. Over time, the continual replacement helps ensure that there remains an equilibrium between erosion and deposition, which keeps Niagara Falls relatively stable size-wise despite its large volume of falling water every second. In addition to this natural process, human intervention has also played a role in keeping Niagara's shape intact over the centuries. Since 1885, work has been done to control how much sediment enters into Lake Erie from upstream rivers so as to prevent it from entering into Niagara's riverbeds where it could potentially build up around rocks near or within areas close to waterfalling cascades, leading them towards gradual enlargement over time if left unchecked. These efforts have helped keep erosion levels under control, therefore preserving some semblance of stability in terms of overall size when compared against what they would be without such precautions taken into consideration. It's that easy.
It's eroding at about 1 foot per year, depending on water flows. Some people say up to 10 feet, depending on how hard that layer is that it's cutting through right there. But that's a whole nother problem. Erosion rates today. They've measured how long it would take to erode all the continents. Like to get North America to erode down to nothing, where North America is now at sea level. They say that would take about 10 million years.
The reason why you may not understand the mechanism behind how the waterfalls were created could be because of your lack of scientific knowledge, Eric. You may have been taught by other members of your family or other sources that the Earth is much younger than what modern science suggests, and this false belief has caused you to ignore evidence that contradicts it. This means that instead of understanding the natural process which formed the falls, you're choosing to believe in an outdated idea which does not stand up to closer scrutiny.
Well, if America and North America should be gone in 10 million years, how would we have rock that is still above sea level in North America supposedly more than 10 million years old.
The erosion of North America is a process that happens over millions of years, and it would take an incredibly long time for the entire continent to be completely eroded away. The exact amount of time depends on various factors, such as the type of rocks present in the region, the climate and weather patterns, and landforms present. For example, hard rocks like granite tend to be more resistant to weathering and erosion than softer rocks such as limestone or shale. This means if there is an abundance of harder rocks in a certain area, then it will likely take longer for them to erode away compared to areas with softer rocks. Similarly, different climates can also play a role in how quickly land erodes, because wetter climates are generally better at causing erosion due to increased precipitation, which helps break down rock surfaces faster than drier conditions. Additionally, steep slopes tend to have higher rates of erosion since gravity causes particles from higher elevations to move downhill quicker, whereas flat terrain tends not to experience much change over time due to its lack of slope or gradient. Overall, North America has been undergoing natural processes like weathering and erosion for millions of years, so it would likely take many more millions of years before all traces were completely gone.
It should have been eroded down to nothing by now. How can we have fossils inside those rocks that are supposedly way more than 10 million years old still above sea level?
Right. Rocks that are found above sea level and are more than 1 million years old are typically the result of a tectonic uplift and erosion. Tectonic uplift refers to the gradual movement of the Earth's crust, guess where? Upwards, which can bring older rocks that were once buried deep beneath the surface to the surface. Once these rocks are at the surface, they're subject to weathering and erosion processes that can further shape and sculpt them. Additionally, erosion can also act on the uplifted rocks and can expose deeper, older rocks that were buried beneath the surface. This process can take millions of years, and the rate at which rock is uplifted and eroded can vary widely depending on its location, the type of rock, and the geologic history of the region.
How can we find dinosaur bones? I mean, when I was in Montana, I got to go look at dinosaur bones right there in the dirt. These dinosaur bones have some of them are fossilized, some of them are not fossilized.
Fossils are the remains of plants and animals that lived millions of years ago, preserved over time through a process known as fossilization. And this occurs when an organism dies and its remains become buried in sediment such as sand or mud, which can eventually turn into rock. Now, over long periods of time, the sediment and rock can be uplifted to the surface, exposing any fossils within it to discovery. Additionally, these rocks may also contain the fossils of organisms that lived in the area during formation before dying and becoming fossilized themselves. Fossils are created in various ways, including permineralization, where minerals replace organic matter, creating an exact replica or molds, casts, leaving behind impressions of the original organism. And it's important to remember that only a small portion of all creatures from past eras have been successfully fossilized, meaning there remain rare finds today.
If erosion would have taken these things off the continents in 10 million years, how do we still have fossil dinosaur bones, supposedly 65 million years old, still above sea level?
Now, finding unfossilized dinosaur bones is extremely rare due to their perishable nature and the specific conditions required for fossilization to occur. Fossilization typically begins shortly after the organism dies, where its remains are buried and then replaced by minerals that preserve its shape and structure. Weathering, scavengers, and other destructive forces can quickly destroy unfossilized bones if they're not rapidly buried in mineral-rich water. Despite this, there have been a few cases where scientists have actually uncovered partially fossilized or preserved dinosaur bones in very cold areas where preservation is better. Yeah, unfossilized dinosaur bones? What the hell is a bone? Take two. Yeah, unfossilized dinosaur bones have been found in Montana. In fact, the state is home to some of the most significant dinosaur discoveries in North America. And in 2020, researchers from the University of Montana discovered a new species of dinosaur named Syathmycorum or something. I don't know, who cares? Which lived in the region about 97 million years ago.
We find radioactive carbon-14. Carbon-14 is found inside of diamonds. Now, the carbon-14 that we see cannot last for more than 100,000 years. Like, that's maximum. You don't get carbon-14 to last more than 100,000 years. So why would we still see carbon-14 in diamonds? I mean, these are the hardest substance known to man. So you can't, like, oops, push carbon-14 into the diamonds and, oh, we threw some in, we soaked it in a bath of carbon-14, and that's why they're made out of carbon. Some of it's radioactive carbon. If we find any radioactive carbon in diamonds, that means they're less than 100,000 years old.
Oh, not this one again. Right, the presence of radioactive carbon-14 inside diamonds is an anomaly that has puzzled scientists for years. Carbon-14 has only got a half-life of 5,730 years, meaning that it shouldn't be present in diamonds that are millions of years old. Possible explanations are things like contamination of the diamonds by younger material, or the presence of a source of radiocarbon that just isn't decaying. It's also possible that the diamonds were formed in a shorter time span, such as during a meteorite impact. Further research is needed to understand the true cause of the anomaly, which is why it's puzzling that young Earth creationists seem to think that carbon-14 is some kind of smoking gun for proving that the Earth is young. Well, it really isn't. Sorry to burst your bubble, creationists. We've got a big problem. We got rock arches in North America, and these are actually around the world. If you look at the rock arches, though, they're eroding away. They're constantly crumbling down. 43 rock arches have fallen since 1970. There's about 2,000 of these. Well, how come we still have these arches around? If this system, if this erosional event that took these out occurred hundreds of thousands or millions of years ago to create this erosion, we shouldn't see these arches, these fragile arches that we still have today. Ooh, I can answer this one as well. Rock arches are typically formed by erosion in areas with large amounts of sedimentary rock. And this is because sedimentary rock tends to be softer than other types of rocks, and therefore erodes more quickly when exposed to the elements. As the softer rock erodes away, harder and more resistant rocks are left behind. The resistant rock is usually comprised of minerals like quartz or feldspar that are much less susceptible to weathering than other materials found in sedimentary rocks. The result is an arch-shaped structure that stands up better against wind, rain, snow, and other natural forces over time. The process of creating a rock arch can take millions of years, as it slowly wears away at the softer layers below while leaving the harder ones on top. Oh, no. That was a penis joke, just in case you weren't sure. Over time, this creates an arch shape where only one side remains standing due to its greater resistance against erosion. The remaining sides form what looks like a bridge connecting two sections together, which can become popular tourist attractions, because tourists like looking at stuff. And again, sorry, but rock arches don't prove a young Earth either. The reason we still have rock arches is simply because they haven't eroded away yet, but they will.
So arches are great evidence that the Earth, North America here, is not millions of years old.
No it isn't. Sorry, Eric, but you were just good old-fashioned wrong, or a liar. And I know which one I would call you. After all, the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree, does it?
There's also a lack of bioturbidation. This is the tilling of the ground. Insects, worms, they burrow down into the ground and they actually stir up the soil. So they actually make it where if you had level or layered soil, they actually are constantly tilling that soil up and making it where those layers are now kind of mixed together. Insects do this all the time.
Bioturbation is the process of bioturbidas mixing and churning up sedimentary layers, which can cause the layers to become mixed up, obviously. I don't know why I said that twice. But it makes it more difficult to date it accurately. Now, the process can make it difficult to determine the age of sedimentary layers and therefore doesn't support the idea of a young Earth. But interestingly, bioturbation and its results are consistent with an old Earth. So nice try again, Eric, but shame on you. If an idiot like me can find this information, then surely a man of science like yourself, albeit creations, should have no problems doing the same. Although again, I get why you would want to do that. I mean, what young Earth creationist worth their salt wants to be exposed as a liar?
Well, you would expect to see lots of this mixing as insects lived throughout the world while these layers are being formed, because you got this layer supposedly, 300 million years old, this one 295 million years old, this one 290 million years old. over millions of years, you'd expect to see this bioturbation.
Well, it's lucky for us that bioturbation can be seen in sedimentary rock layers then, isn't it? It is more common in shallow marine environments where organisms like worms and crabs and fish are able to move around and mix up the sedimentary layers. It is less common in deeper marine environments and non-marine environments, such as deserts and lakes. So I don't see your point, if you have one.
Well, we don't see that. What we see is nice, neat layers. It's as if these were laid down very quickly by water all around the world.
The lack of bioturbation in some rock layers does not reinforce the lack of time involved when evolutionary biologists insert millions of years to force the rock to conform with their time scale. It isn't their time scale, it's the Earth's time scale. And just because it doesn't fit with young Earth creationists' ideas about the age of the Earth means nothing. Like everything else young Earth creationists believe. So nice try again, but no.
The biblical flood makes sense of the science, of the geology that we see today. We've got things like the Great Unconformity. I got to go to this spot right here.
The Great Unconformity is a major break in the sedimentary rock layers of the Grand Canyon that marks the boundary between the Proterozoic and Cambrian periods. It's believed to be caused by a period of uplift and erosion which occurred around 600 million years ago. Now, the event is thought to have been caused by the collision of tectonic plates that caused the Earth's crust to be uplifted and eroded away, leaving a gap in the geological record. And I had to do quite a lot of reading to find all that out. But what I didn't find out is that it was caused by a global flood. So once again, thanks for helping me to debunk your awful arguments so easily.
With Dr. John and actually a whole group of guys. It was pretty cool. Where you actually get to see where creation rock, the granites and the schists, meet the judgment rock. All of a sudden now it's layered. This is where creation and the flood meet. The foundations of the earth meet the flood layers.
Sorry, it's me again. I don't mean to interrupt, but what the hell are those? Yeah, sure it is, Eric. Now, are you just going to use all your dad's arguments, or do you have something useful to say? Which I know is an oxymoron on account of him being a young Earth creationist, but you get the gist. Oh yeah, and spoiler alert, he has nothing useful to say, obviously.
This layer is called the Great Unconformity because right in between those two rock layers that you see us standing next to, so you see the layers that are not stratified, that's the granites, and then the ones that are stratified right above it, we're missing somewhere around a 500 million to 1 billion years in geologic time that's been either eroded away or however you want to say it's gone. There's rock layers there that are completely missing.
Exactly! Almost 500 million years. So how the hell does that fit a young Earth? I'm sorry, but I just can't see how a gap of 500 million years in the geological record helps the young Earth creationist argument. It makes no sense, like everything else young Earth creationists say. All your video has been is reasons that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. I think you may have this whole debunking thing ass backwards, pal.
This makes sense with a global flood.
But how? Explain to us how a gap of 500 million years in the geological record lines up with a supposed global flood that only lasted 1 year. You are literally debunking yourself, Eric. So, there you have it, like father, like son. There's just too much evidence pointing towards an old Earth for their arguments to hold up under any form of scrutiny, even mine. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more videos just like this one, and some which are nothing like this one, obviously. Love you, bye.
Alright, watch this next. But before you do, make sure you subscribe. By order of the Creaky Blinder.